Okay, I see me on the screen with DMV. I think I see Rob Phillips. Now, the question is, can I hear them? Can they hear me?
What's
Okay.
going on, Mark? What's going on, Rob? How you guys doing
Go
today?
on.
What's
Yeah.
happening? How are you
It's
doing?
going good.
Okay. All right. I heard that. So hold up. Let me flip over here again.
Okay,
Okay.
hold on. Let me turn my volume down on my laptop.
What's going on, Rob? How you guys doing?
Sorry about that.
It's going good. Okay.
All right, so I got to make a grand introduction for you guys because you guys don't know each other, but you're bigger in the Cowboys community than most are. All right, so
Nah.
Rob, this is my guy Mark Holmes. Mark is how many subscribers do you have on YouTube so far? About 30,000 or something of that nature?
Closing in on 35,000.
Okay, closing in on 35,000. So
Mhm.
Mark is like the godfather of YouTube when it comes to this Cowboy stuff. He was actually the guy who told us Dak Prescott was going to be our quarterback for the future. And you know, he's been a Dak whisperer so far. And Mark, this is Rob Phillips, senior staff writer for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, the greatest brand franchise in the land.
Greatest and biggest. Don't forget about
Yeah,
the
absolutely. And you know, I've actually been chatting with Rob for quite some time when I was doing podcasts, and you know, he kind of liked the podcast, and I tried to talk him into it a couple of years ago, but you know, we couldn't quite get everything to match up, but now everything seems to match up, and I'm adding Elton in as we speak, guys.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's the introduction, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay,
There we
so
go. How you doing, man?
got my guy Elton in here. What's going on, Elton? Needs no introduction because Elton has been here. I told him to come out in his best Cowboys gear possible, and he showed up with the hat. Elton, you were there a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, for the Spence fight.
Okay, and you went to a Cowboys game this year. You went to the Browns game, right?
Falcons.
The Falcons. Okay, yeah, he was at that one. All right, so cool. We got everybody here, man, and really, you know, we just had the big time introduction. And really, I just kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let Mark grill Rob a little bit because Mark had a couple of questions for Rob.
Well, Rob, I know you don't know who I am. Of course, I've been following you with DallasCowboys.com for a long, long time and want to know how you get one of those jobs. But no, all seriousness, though.
Pure luck, my man. Pure luck, Mark.
So, with this season being the way that it is it fair to judge the coaching staff on what's happened? I mean, for me, you know, I'm old school, and you know, like you say, I'm the godfather, which means I'm just old as dirt. You know, I was used to us having 2-a-days with the full padded special teams practice in the middle, 6 weeks, you know, where you literally just kind of pounded and beaten on each other and stuff to get ready for a season. To go into a season where now with the collective bargaining agreement of 14 padded practices, no 2-a-days, and this year having virtual reality and changing a defense, is it fair to judge the team on what was accomplished or lack thereof?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think yeah, I actually wrote about this today. You know, there's only you can't excuse everything with the pandemic. You can't make the pandemic an excuse for every misstep that you had this season. And so I think there have been some challenges for sure in terms of trying to get the schemes ready. That being said, you know, when Jerry Jones comes out last week and said, you know, look, we tried to do too much. That's partly on him. He took ownership of that, but also that's Mike McCarthy okaying that with his staff, saying let's try to, you know, make a wholesale change with the defensive scheme. So you can question that. And I feel like a lot of what we're questioning this year is the defensive side of the ball because that's where they've really struggled the most. There's been in-game decisions that Mike McCarthy's had that you scratch your head at, and you know, he's stood by a lot of them, but certain things haven't worked out. You know, whether it's a clock management, whether it's a fake punt, you know, that one's I'm not still sure about that one. A couple games back, so there's a lot of that you can question. You can also point to the personnel side of things and say, look, defensively, I know a lot of people are saying, look, that this is largely the same defense that was kind of middle of the pack last year. And so what happened? But, I don't think they've replaced certain guys when you really look back at it. Byron Jones and even Jeff Heath and Malik Collins. And, they're facing a 49ers team this Sunday. Kerry Hyder was just a rotational guy for them. I think he's leading the 49ers in sacks this year. So, they, from a personnel standpoint too, they can look at that and say some things, the guys they brought in, it didn't work, so there's been a lot of reasons for why it hasn't worked. I think the biggest reason, even though they had a losing record when Dak Prescott got hurt, I think the injuries offensively have prevented them from really being a serious contender in the division. If they had Dak and they had a couple linemen healthy, I think they'd still have a lot to play for. Right now, it's going to take a miracle to get in.
50-1 odds, I think it is right now.
Is that what it is? Wow.
Yeah.
I saw 1% chance in the New York Times. They did mathematics or something.
We'd have to get Washington would have to lose all three. We'd have to win all three. I want to beat the Eagles. I want to beat the Giants. We could beat the 49ers, but Washington, here's where I kind of question if we look at the season, because you think about the Washington team, they had lost their name, their identity. They were talking about, getting rid of the owner. You got Ron Rivera going through cancer, and you looked at the quarterback situation they had. They started out with Haskins to Allen to, now Alex Smith. And somehow they're performing. So if we're looking at the Cowboys and saying, the defense has suffered, then why don't we look at the offense as well? Because like you said, there's some questionable play calling. Sometimes the punts, some of the fourth down, short yardage, sometimes just some of the plays in general, you just kind of look at it and you kind of scratch your head, at least from a fan standpoint, and wonder why Mike McCarthy isn't getting the scrutiny too.
No, that's fair, and I think I think he's taken some scrutiny. I'm a little surprised by it, but there's been speculation this week about his job status. The Joneses have come out and squashed all that. But I think in the media he's taken it on the chin a little bit in terms of, look, like you just said, Mark. I mean, two teams within the division changed staffs all the way over, and they're doing a better job in terms of winning games. I think there's been more to deal with in terms of injuries, I think, for the Cowboys' perspective, especially starting with Dak. I think there's more that they can probably excuse away. And look, they're going to cite his track record in building teams, and I still think he was a good hire, because based on the belief in their roster. He's won a Super Bowl. How many Super Bowl winning coaches that are active still out there are available, and so I think it was a smart hire at the time. I still think you got to give him a chance going into next year. And, what Dak did in the first 5 games, I don't know how much credit you give Mike for that, but that's one reason why.
Everybody, he freeze.
He froze.
He froze up.
With his mouth catching flies in the pie hole. I love his response on that, though. But and I would love to. There's some questions you want to ask, but you can't ask because he's too close to the Jones family. But I want to know how the mood was at the Star after the Cowboys lost that Sunday night game. This Sunday, of course, which should have been a Sunday night game. If that made Jerry Jones put a foot in everybody's ass. How you doing tonight, Elton?
All right, pretty good. Well, as good as I can be. Both of my kids popped positive for COVID this week, so it's been a little rough around here.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of questions in here. Somebody's asking that, is Mike Nolan really gone after the season? The speculation is that they're going to be moving on from him. Now, there's no guarantee that they don't, but, for them to kind of put it out there, you have to look at that. What's up, Lola? How you doing? You have to kind of put that out there because somebody has to pay for the season. Somebody's going to be the sacrificial lamb, at least in my mind. You can't go through and have the worst defense in the NFL and not have somebody has to change.
True.
Yeah.
And there's some players who need to go because to me, effort can't be coached. And then we see defensive players loafing every week.
Yes. We're not going to say any names, but can we give numbers? Can we say
25?
25, 25, 54? Playing them, playing the lottery.
Oh
20.
man.
But
23.
well, 23's effort ain't bad. It's just he's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel like not giving his all. I just don't think he's very good. I mean, there's a lot of guys on this defense that aren't good. And really, we're really struggling. And I really believe that part of it is the guys aren't buying in. And you guys have played football before. Have you guys been on really bad teams before? Any of you guys been on really bad?
Well, I tell you one thing that killed me when I look at that fake punt on our 24-yard line against Washington. You could see that that game was still in doubt. We still had a chance in that game. But once we did that fake punt, you saw the defense just say, fuck it, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
We're done. You could literally look at the body language, and everybody was the air went out the balloon. Everybody just literally gave up. And it was it.
Agreed.
And there was nothing you could do about it from that point because the players looked at the coaches and like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to put our backs against the wall like this? It don't matter what we do.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. How much sense does it make to make those kind of decisions? Because I've never asked you this, Mark. How much sense does it make to make those kind of decisions with a bad defense?
I mean, it's a killer. See, the thing is, for a coach, to me, your job is to put me in the best position to succeed, to make sure that I understand things like, pursuit angles. Sometimes the little things are the big things when it comes to it. Because I have seen, everybody has a bad play, but it gets compounded because somebody will have a dumb penalty on top of it, or they'll take a terrible pursuit angle. Instead of it being a 10 or 15-yard run, it goes to the house. Did you see Jalen Smith do the spin move away from the ball carrier?
Oh my God! Oh, you know what?
He had his assignment, and let me spin out of here, and I'm gonna make a play, and the guy right past where he would have been.
Yeah, I don't think that I've seen I don't know if that's necessarily selfish or really. I think Jalen's having a really hard time taking on blocks this year.
Yeah,
he's having a really tough time getting off blocks.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Wizzo wants to know if you think we have a chance of beating the 49ers. I'd say we definitely got a chance of beating the 49ers. 49ers are in the same position we are. They've definitely underperformed. You look at their quarterback situation, their offense is not real good, which is good to help our defense. And yeah. I mean, we're both bad teams right now. But of course we got a chance.
You telling me we got a shot? You telling me we have a chance?
I'm telling you, we got a chance. I mean, it's the NFL. Everybody's got a chance these days. I mean, this year is just like no year. That's why I was asking Rob. I was like, Rob, so is it safe to say that maybe the reason why Mike McCarthy is taking so many chances is because he says we just can't compete because they've got better personnel and we need an advantage or a spark, and that's why we're going to try and do a fake punt down here. They won't think that we're this stupid. We might catch them sleeping. We get a big first down, and all of a sudden we get some momentum and win the game. I mean, that process is there. So the question is, if you had Dak Prescott that was there and you have the offense that's moving the ball, would you be taking those same chances because you don't really need to?
We kind of did take those chances with Dak. We did.
We did because our defense was so bad. And people, still go through. It still drives me crazy because people still go through and say, Dak's a garbage quarterback. We were 1-3 with Dak, before he got hurt. Well, actually, it was 2-5 because I looked at that Giant game and say, he did most of the lifting in that game. But regardless, but they'll say, if we go ahead and get one of these quarterbacks in the first round and we save that money and we spend it on the defense, and I'm kind of like, show me one place that the Cowboys have spent on free agents that has been actually worth it.
I'll ask you. I'll even go one further. Show me where they're spending money in free agency. Period. Because save all this money. A lot of guys a lot of people, not even guys, but guys, gals, a lot of fans have been saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, we can use that money to go get some defensive players." Well, we just have money now. We just had money. We had a whole bunch of it, and we did jack squat with it. What did we do with the money? That all this money we had, we let Byron walk. We
Yeah.
didn't. I'll tell you where all the money went. It went into franchising Dak when you could have signed him to a deal and you could have cut yourself a lot more relief and
You could have
possibly
done
got
a
some
deal
decent.
2 years ago and saved a whole.
Absolutely. If you cut him a deal 2 years ago, we have a boatload of money today. So, I mean, at this point, I gotta ask: are they really financially responsible at this point? Yeah, we know that they're great businessmen, but like Elton has said, me and Elton have talked about this quite a bit. They don't negotiate contracts well. Everything goes down to the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
They go through the media.
You know
There's
what's so
always these
funny about?
franchise tags. Yeah.
I tell you what's so funny about them negotiating. How many times, and everybody, we had Rob Phillips and he had a problem on his end. Hopefully he'll be able to get back in. He literally froze up and hopefully he'll be coming back. If not, you got us. But you notice how the Cowboys always tell people, we don't pay. There he is. Actually, I'm glad Rob's back. Rob, there you go.
Back. There we go.
Okay. Rob, I'm glad you're back, man. I was enjoying the conversation and everything with you, and you froze up, and it was like, damn, we lost you. So we were talking about the negotiating skills, and I understand you work for work for DallasCowboys.com. I don't want to get you in trouble or anything like that. But the negotiating power of the Dallas Cowboys, is it me or are they the worst negotiators in the NFL?
Worst negotiator in the NFL. Damn. Why is that? Why do you think that?
You know how many times we've heard them say, we're not going to reset the market with Zeke Elliott, right? We're not going to pay a whole lot of money to him. Zeke Elliott holds out, comes back in after being Cabo in bad shape and everything, and still gets what he wants.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have been better off of signing him, originally got it done, with D-Law? Well, D-Law, we thought we had a deal for like, $19 million and everything else. D-Law says, hey, I'm not going to, I'm not signing Jack. And I'm not going to get my shoulder worked on until I get a long-term deal. He sits out, basically ruins his last year because, he can't work out with the team. And here it is with Dak Prescott. We're sitting here still kind of dicking around that the contract, had they got done a couple of years ago, could have been under 30. Right now, you would say he's a bargain like he has been his whole career. So I just kind of wonder about their negotiating skills.
Can we go back to Dez Bryant's negotiation too? Because that was really bad at the time. It's a couple of other guys whose negotiations were really bad, but Dez really, probably in my opinion, was the worst. How that was handled.
Yeah. But that just got ugly though all the way around. It just, and I'm not going to say it was the Joneses family, but when you started hearing stuff about there's a tape out that might be 10 times worse than Ray Rice's and stuff, that never came to fruition. Nobody ever said, I'm sorry, my bad. You had the article about the police had come to his house 6 times and things like that. So it was like he was literally trashed and told he was worthless, and then they paid him.
Yeah. So Rob, what are your thoughts on that? Just curious. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, because I think especially with the Zeke deal and with the D-Law deal, at the end of the day, it's somewhat market value. I don't think Zeke's deal is as bad as you think. If you look deeper in it, you're not on the hook for major sums of money as the contract goes along.
Sure.
Not saying he won't be there through the end of it. We'll see what happens there. The Dak thing, they're taking a lot of heat for that one. And I do think it would have been much better to get him done sooner, because had they done that, maybe you bring back a Byron Jones, because you can kind of spread out that hit.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't able to. I think they're probably taking more criticism than what is deserved, though, just because they've had offers on the table, and Dak has chosen not to go that route. Everything I've heard, everything that's been said publicly, is more about the length of the deal than anything. But
right.
If it just comes down to 1 year, to me, there's got to be more involved in terms of guarantees or something of that nature. But the Cowboys have been actively trying to sign him. I think to some extent Dax wanted to bet on himself, and he's kind of talked about that a little bit too, and it's worked out for him. And he's going to get paid regardless, whether $38 million on the franchise tag or whether he's getting whatever he would get per year on a new deal. It looks like he's won that negotiation and he's made himself a lot of money. So I can't argue with that one there. I wish they'd have gotten that one done sooner. I think eventually they'll get it done, but I don't know when, and I don't know what it's going to look like. But they need to get it done, because if you're still trying to compete, trying to go with a young quarterback, rookie quarterback, and I don't know how you don't look at that as a rebuild. They need to get Dak back in the building and try to go win that way.
Okay, and I have a piggyback on to that, Rob, because you said something earlier before you got, and you said, COVID can't be an excuse for everything. And we watched Houston go out and get a deal done with Deshaun Watson, who and then you watch Kansas City. I think it took 2 weeks for them to get a deal done with Mahomes, which is the richest contract in NFL history. Do you buy the COVID excuse that Steven kind of gave? And I don't want to get you in trouble or anything, but do you think that was a good? Do you think that was actually a good excuse there when we watched other quarterbacks set the market with their deals, or get higher deals?
What do you mean by the COVID excuse for that one, though? I don't know if that was ever an excuse for the negotiations.
Well, in the press conference, Stephen Jones actually cited COVID as one of the reasons why the deal didn't get done. So I asked that question because when I watch Deshaun Watson get paid, and then I watch Mahomes get paid during COVID, and I know that they do things differently, it's kind of touching on how negotiations, go in Dallas opposed to anywhere else.
I don't remember him saying that, but if you say so, I believe you. I don't really think that would have been a factor, honestly, because these deals get done on the phone. I mean,
absolutely.
not being in the same building because in the offseason because of the virus and the pandemic, I just don't think that would have been a factor. I think it came down to Dak wants to hit the market quicker than the Cowboys would want. They'd want more of having that commitment done for X amount of years, and Dak's probably looking at it like, hey, when I hit this age, I can still maximize my earning power because I'm still in my prime. I think that's the biggest thing. But I do wonder, I'm not privy to all the stuff involved with the money and all that. I think guarantees wise, there's got to be some middle ground they still need to find there. It couldn't, to me, I'm surprised to hear it's just about the years, but maybe it is.
Yeah. All right. So I want to switch gears, guys, and talk about the Bengals game, because, the Bengals game, that happened to probably be the most impressive performance of the year. And I'm going to ask you guys, and whoever wants to answer first, go ahead. Did we screw ourselves winning this game against the Bengals? I know for me, I think that we could say goodbye to Penei Sewell, my favorite tackle in the draft. But what do you guys think?
No, because I actually think the Bengals was trying to lose more than we was. So it wasn't like we did anything impressive, because the Bengals drove up and down the field and they just fumbled it away.
True. Good point. What do you think, Rob, Mark?
I don't think they hurt. Okay, well, one, we only moved back one spot. The reality is, I still think we beat either the Giants or the Eagles. One or the other, I still think we win. But if we can maintain that top 10 draft pick, we still can get a great player. And here's the thing you got to think of. We have 10 picks in this draft because of the compensatory. As much as we say, well, they should have signed Byron Jones, should have, maybe Robert Quinn, and we should have signed Jeff Heath. The reality is we're getting a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth round draft pick in replacement. And when you look at a team like New England, nobody gets to go watch in New England. You know what I mean? They're forever letting guys go because they know they get the compensatory pick. I mean, when you think about them winning Super Bowls and then turning around the next year, having 12 draft picks, you understand that there's strength in numbers. And for us, if it's a top 10 pick, well, that second round pick is moving up in the top 10 of the second round. And you think about where we've been drafting and getting guys like CeeDee Lamb, we can still get ourselves 3 or 4 really good guys. We got 4 picks in the top 100. So whether it's a third, a fifth, a seventh, and eighth, we're not winning the division. We're not going to be the 19th pick. We'll be somewhere around the top 10. I don't think it hurt us any. In fact, and I don't mean to talk too long, I think getting a couple of wins and trying to get some momentum going the offseason would actually be more beneficial for the psyche of the players. Because if you go through and you just look like ass all the way out, it's kind of like, man, I don't want to go back to that. But if you finish up on a high note, you beat the Eagles and things, you're feeling good. You're like, yeah, man, we can do this. And you get that much more psyched and you get ready, in that off season, man, Dak is beginning to work out. We're going to be over at his house, working out on the field and everything else. You start getting excited and ready to play. And that can be an advantage going forward.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Mike McCarthy's talked about that during the week, that his first year in Green Bay, they actually carried over some of that stuff. Look, I know that he built a program with Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but you get Dak back healthy, he's pretty good. I tend to side with Mark there because I think it's not going to take much to lose out on this division. So you're going to wind up with a pretty high pick either way. The same debate. It's such a tough debate for fans because. Look, I'm like a Mavs fan here in Dallas, and a couple years ago when the Mavs were terrible and they'd win a game they weren't supposed to win, I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, hey, man, way to go. And then I'm thinking, oh, how does that hurt us in the lottery with the ping pong ball? Right. So I get it for fans, but could you imagine this week how miserable this week would have been if coming off that miserable performance defensively against Baltimore, then you lose to Cincinnati, who's a 2-win team, and then you feel like there's no hope of progress at all. So I do think there's something to building and trying to build in, especially for Mike McCarthy in his first year. That he needs to stack as many wins as he can, to help the player buy in.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. At first, I was mad, but then I thought about it. You know how hard it is to win an NFL game, and you got a lot of young guys on this roster that are fighting for position for next year, and they're actually fighting to make their footprint in this league. So any time that you can go out there and you can compete, I mean, I've always said I want them to really go out there and compete and just try and win as many games as possible. And you might by design lose, but at the end of the day, you have your pride intact and you get better by competing and just trying to win. So, and I think it's the perfect segue because I did do my research on Rob's news today. So based on what you tweeted earlier, Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Donovan Wilson were expected to be limited participants in practice. Do you know if they did practice or not?
Yeah, I think. Well, they didn't have because Cheeto and Trayvon were technically on reserve list today, and they got taken off today. I don't think they were. Well, Cheeto doesn't count because he's healthy. He doesn't have an injury. He's off COVID-19, so that's reserve list. So that's not a factor. Trayvon Diggs is not on the injury report because he's still on IR. He's got the practice window for 3 weeks. And but he was out there when I was out there doing the pool report for everybody. So that sounds encouraging. The only 3 guys that didn't practice today were Zeke and a couple of DBs. Deontay Burton's got a shoulder injury, and Rashard Robinson's got a knee injury. So those 3 did not practice, but I think Zeke's going to try to give it a go once again. I think the calf thing's bothering him some, but while they're still mathematically in it, I think he's going to try to give it a shot. But to your point, they're getting healthier in the secondary. So meanwhile, San Francisco's a little banged up in their wide receiver core. Yeah. So maybe that's an advantage. Maybe there's something you could point to with the Cowboys. They got an advantage Sunday.
Yeah, and so that, I mean, the people on that list, like Trayvon, trying to really work his way back, lets me know that they haven't really, canceled plans for the season, because I was for sure, that we wouldn't see him the rest of the year. And the fact that he's, rehabbing and trying to get back lets me know that they're really still trying to win this thing, which I find commendable.
And one more thing, DMV, on that, like to Mark's point, I think having because I was with you, Trayvon, I wasn't sure about him. I wasn't sure about Biotish, because if you're out of it or you're close to out of it, if they're not 100%, do you bring them back? But I think that's a perfect world type scenario for those two guys, two rookies that give them as many reps as you can. And while you're trying to win these games, and because they're playing well when they're healthy, and that can only serve them well going forward, because I think they look at both guys as probably long-term starters.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's kind of the great thing that we've got guys that are playing that normally wouldn't sniff the field. I mean, as much crap as Terrence Steele has gotten, the first starts and stuff, the last couple of weeks, he's actually come around and you start looking and saying, okay, he's beginning to look like an NFL tackle, and getting some of these younger guys. And I almost wonder if you should look at it, I know we're still, Zach Martin might come back and, maybe, Zeke's got the calf issue, that maybe with the season being as bad as it is, trying to get these young guys as much practice under the belt. You think about Tyler Badish, having him, he looks like a long-term center. If we know Terrence Steele can be, a competent backup, then that's great. If we, when Tyron Smith comes back, because we know Tyron's going to miss some games, does that mean that we still look for that tackle of the future, or can we wait elsewhere and look, heavy on the defense and try and build up the defense and say, we've got Zach Martin, who's second best guard in football. You get a Lyle Collins, a Tyron Smith, you got a Joe Looney who can play guard and center and stuff. Maybe you look at it and say, maybe we roll the dice one more year, or we draft an offensive lineman later in the draft than the first round, and really try and get that defense. I mean, the defense is that redheaded stepchild that they never really focus on, that defensive tackle and those damn safeties. It's got to be time for Jerry Jones to look and say, okay, we need some draft capital and that's those positions to set this defense up to help us with our offense. Washington doesn't have a great offense. It's their defense that's leading to the victories.
Yeah, and they've invested in that defense really over the years. Like if you look at the guys they have, Jonathan Allen, he's a DMV native. They got Alan Payne. They
Sweat.
got Sweat. And Chase.
Chase Young.
I want to beat Cincinnati up so bad because I was just like, bruh, please take Chase Young. Because we're gonna have it's gonna be a problem for
10,
a while.
12 years.
Yeah. Oh my God. Dude.
That's exactly why I want to tackle in the first round.
Yeah.
Because looking at this draft, this isn't a great defensive draft, and I don't want to reach for a first round defensive draft when all they can do is actually go out and actually get real free agents. You don't need a bargain shop. Get a real free agent on the defensive side. Because to me, my whole plan was get Swell. You actually can kick Lyle back to left guard. You got Biotis. You got Zach Martin. And you can flop Tyron the same way you did Doug Free 10 years ago. Now you have a dominant O-line again. The offense is going to be the best part of the team for the foreseeable future. Go and get some real defensive guys and actually free agency, because nobody seems to want a linebacker and Michael Parsons, and I don't think any of the corners are top 10 good. And I don't think reaching just because yes, we actually need guys on defense. We did actually guys you already know can play.
I mean, to me, the only two guys I really, really like in this draft, top 10, are Micah. I mean, that we'll probably be able to get are Micah Parsons and I like Surtain. I'm a big fan of trading back. I'm a big fan of trading back, honestly, in this draft to secure some more. But I'll pose this question for the floor. Do you guys think that, like, with Mike Nolan's job being in the hot seat, more than likely being gone, do you think that the Cowboys will still commit to possibly switching to 3-4?
I don't even think they have the personnel for it.
Yeah, and that's something you can argue in terms of, what we heard was we're going to adapt the scheme to fit the players. I feel like, and they've scaled some things back, but it seems like they've tried to, they wanted to run a certain style of defense. They wanted to be multiple, and I don't know if it's fit the players all the time, what they do best. And so I don't know what they're going to do at defensive coordinator. They got 3 games left to go. If they ball out, Mike McCarthy has a lot of faith in Mike Nolan. Maybe he's back, but I think I've been saying this all week. Whatever they do, they got to have some hard questions on why it's not working, because I think it's a combination of things. It's the scheme hasn't worked. And I think what we're talking about the draft, they need more playmakers on defense. I think it's a personnel issue too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen.
I'm with you on that. So Mark, I'll ask you this question. Do
Mhm.
you still think that we need that big fat guy in the middle? That
Man, you
big.
always need the big man. Come on. I'm a big fat guy. Okay.
I had to. Hey, look,
You
I
you
had to
know I
pose the
got
question to
love
you.
for it. Okay. Because the thing is, since the Rams in the playoffs, since that game, everybody has been able to run on us up the middle. You know, my thing is you get the biggest bang for the buck on the defensive line. If you get that defensive lineman who's a generational guy, he's going to take double teams. That means D-Law and on the outside, if it's Alden Smith or Randy Gregory, shout out to him with his words and stuff today. You love and you want to see that guy do well. If you got that guy in the middle who's requiring you to get double teams and can put pressure on the quarterback up the middle, quarterbacks don't like to be, when they see a guy at their knees, they get scared. And the walls start closing in. And by taking up those double teams, that makes Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch's job easy because they're not having to get the guards on them. They're not
Yeah.
having to shed the blocks. But for whatever reason, the Cowboys always love edge rushers. They'll get a cornerback or the linebacker. But I'm telling you, it's the big, fat nasties that make the difference. And the thing about it was, remember years ago when I said, get Calais Campbell? People said, well, he only gets 7 or 8 sacks a season. I said, but yeah, from defensive end, defensive tackle, you don't understand. That's not their role. Their role is to make it easy for everybody else. If you've got a defensive lineman that's getting upfield within 2 seconds, that quarterback's got to get rid of the ball. My cornerback's job is easier. My safety's job is easier. My quarterback is looking right there. He's not finding people. My linebackers can scrape. They can make those moves. And we've got to get the big, fat nasties up in the middle.
Yeah. And everything you just said, Mark, is why I tell everybody that Aaron Donald, not Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes, is the best player in the NFL.
without
He's
a
the best
doubt.
player in the NFL. I'm sorry. Like, you're taking double teams and you get
Mhm.
double-digit sacks every year the way that he is
Every
moving
game.
around. Like,
Mhm.
there's nobody like Aaron Donald, period. I mean,
But it
I
makes
don't think
it makes your defensive ends jobs, D-Law's going to get one-on-one instead of getting double and triple teamed or getting chipped by the tight end. You got to worry about it across the board. And that's what's making Washington so effective. People, Alex Smith, great start. No, it's a damn defense. That
yeah, they got
defense
two big
in the
fat
short
uglies
field
that are
that's getting
good.
turnovers. It's making all the difference. You can look at the game we had this past week. The difference was D-Law gets up in there, strip sack and everything else. They put pressure on the quarterback. So he turned around and we have 180 yards passing? Zeke Elliott had 40-some yards. It's a
Something like
blowout
that.
because
Yeah.
the defense ended up helping you. We can't win games constantly having to score 40 points. It's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, so I'll ask you, Rob, why do you think they don't value the big
Please
guy
tell
up the middle as much? And
Oh,
being there.
well, I think it was a Rod Marinelli preference when he was the DC here for so many years. I think he wants, and probably still wants in Vegas, the penetrating, smaller, quicker interior lineman. That's what he's always liked. I will say Dontari Poe was a shift away from that this offseason.
Mhm.
I mean, 340 something pounds. I think that was something they went to a different style, and to Gerald McCoy to some extent as well. And that was a shame. He got hurt the first week at camp.
Yeah, he
But
did. Yeah.
Poe just, he couldn't get off blocks. It was just I think the biggest problem they had the first half of the season in their run defense was they had no resistance in the middle of the defensive line.
Well,
And
is
Neville
that
Gallimore, to his credit, has come in and helped him in that regard.
is that a coaching thing? Because it doesn't seem like anybody can get off blocks. Like, it seems like at some point, like a couple of years ago, we were fine. And even with Rod Marinelli, like, I think that the scheme was a little simple last year, but guys were able to get off of blocks. Like, it just seems like everybody has a magnet for being blocked this year.
Yeah.
Do you think that it has something to do with possibly them not being comfortable with the scheme? or do you?
I do. I think that's part of it. I think sometimes, with linebackers too, we saw this last year, and that's why I tend to, Mike Nolan gets a lot of criticism. I will say the last year we talked about the same things in terms of guys kind of freelancing and not being as sound just with gap integrity as they should be. And so some of that's on players, but I do think some of it's on scheme too. Where there's been a disconnect. We've been told, look, the practices are good, and guys seem to be in tune, but it doesn't carry over to game day. And so ultimately, that is a coaching thing. Players have to respond to what you're trying to get them to do. I think the pandemic hurt. I think, and Mike Nolan referenced this on a conference call a couple of days ago. It's hard to teach football on a Zoom call. It's such a hands-on sport, but every team's dealing with it.
I was going to say, they did. You ever seen Coming to America? They did it in Washington. Oh, yeah. They did it in Washington.
I think you got to ask. When you think about like let's say Gallimore, okay, you're a rookie, okay, you just got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. You go to Dallas trying to find a place to live, right? Then COVID happens. Where are you working out? The gyms are closed.
Right.
You got an apartment. I don't have the gym in my apartment's closed. I can't go to the Star. How do you get in shape? And if you're Don Terry Poe, and I'm not making excuses for him, he was on the PUP list through most of training camp. Training camp, which really wasn't a training camp. That was Camp Cupcake. You had 2 weeks of conditioning, and then you had like 14 padded practices. Okay, let's go play games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To me, a lot of guys used to, at least back in my day, we got in shape in training camp. A lot of these guys never had the opportunity to get in shape because they didn't have the wherewithal. It's great that Dak had a field in his backyard, but not everybody's got that.
I don't know, Mark, because the thing is, how did all these other teams, how did Washington, how did Payne and those guys get in shape? I think that's an excuse, because for me as a player, if I want to be great, I'm going to find a way.
But here's the thing, though. Those guys are already here. Those guys weren't rookies. They didn't change teams. They were there in Washington. They had their life set up.
You have a point there. You
think about Gerald McCoy. You think about Everson Griffin. You think about Don Terry Poe. You think about Clinton Ha Dix. All of them get signed in free agency right when the pandemic happens. And now, where am I working out?
You have a point there. You have a point. But what I will say,
you got to make enough money to have a home gym.
Well, some of them do. Some of them, like I said, some of them just moved, and now everything's shut down.
So those guys were signed late. So what were they doing up until that point? Because my thing is, I have a coach that coaches with me. His name is Coach Pickett, and he says if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So if you guys were looking to sign 1-year deals or whatever you were doing anyway, why aren't you in shape?
Well,
that's on them. That's on them, in my opinion. So while we can say that, I don't know. I'm watching the football game right now, Miami and the Chiefs on NFL Network, and I'm pretty sure some of these guys had to move wherever, and they're playing high-level football still.
Yeah, and some of these guys are used to just being told where to go, what to do, when to do it. And now some of them now have to be of their own now. What do we do? And then you had a lot of people that were, are we even going to have a football season?
True.
It's kind of like, I'm not even signed by anybody or anything. So we're not going to have a season. I'm not going to do that work. I'll wait till next year. Even D-Law was sitting there thinking, I might sit out. Till his wife said, get your ass stepping. You ain't sitting around here playing PlayStation all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dak said something early during all of this where he was talking about depression. And I thought that was pretty deep, because I dealt with some of that myself, where I didn't want to go outside and I didn't want to work out and do that type of thing. So that is real, whether people want to agree to it or not, But at some point, man, if this is your profession, and you look at this on a contract, you have to. It's just part. What do you think, Rob? You want to chime in?
Oh, well, yeah. No, I actually got to jump off here in a minute here, but I would say, I think at this level, guys have personal trainers, guys have routines, guys have people they work out with in the offseason that they trust, you know, in the state of the circumstances in the world in the offseason. And I don't think conditioning was a factor for most of the guys they brought in. Everson Griffin is probably the one you really point to that you say, man, did he have enough time? Because he wasn't with anybody until August when he signed. But with Poe, that was, according to Jerry Jones, in terms of weight and stuff, that was a conditioning issue for him. And so for whatever reason, I don't know, but you know, he signed in March or April, one of the two. So he should have had time to get ready, and he wasn't ready. And that hurts, man, because that, to Mark's point, I mean, I think they were really looking for that, you know, big piece in the middle of the defensive line to help your linebackers, free them up to go, you know, chase and make plays. You know, it just didn't happen.
Well, I have a question for you, Rob, because I mean, I'm not privy to this, so I don't know this. Like, before they sign you, don't they run you through physicals and stuff like that, or is that after they sign you?
Yeah, you gotta pass a physical. Now, God, man, March and April feels like 2 years ago. But I want to say, I don't know. I don't think you could have guys in the building back then, so I think it had to be, you know, virtual type deal.
Done like in June.
Yeah, something. Yeah. But everybody's got to pass physical before they're signed or before a trade gets done, for sure.
Yeah, because my question is, like, didn't they know he was 340 back then when they signed him to the 1 year Walmart deal? I like to say
Walmart deal.
But I mean,
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I that's where I like when Jerry says things like that. Like, it's really hard for me to take that because they knew he was 340. But again, like you said, with the pandemic, we don't know how in depth the physicals and stuff were, because they were able to catch some things in not Earl Thomas. Who was the safety from the Chiefs that they tried to bring in last year? Eric Berry. Yeah,
kind of for a look-see, just kind of see where he's at. Well, I mean, but there's a difference between signing a guy that, you know, you sign a guy in March and April, and then you don't see him again until August. So yeah, like, it comes down to, you know, what are you doing with your time? So I don't know what happened there. I just know that when he got on the field, it wasn't what they hoped for, and that happened for a couple different guys, Griffin and Darryl Worley, and they just moved on. And I give credit to the young guys that have stepped in, man. You look at Donovan Wilson, you look at Randy Gregory, you look at Neville Gallimore, and that is, you know, it's a lost season in a lot of ways, but building for next year, those guys are all going to be part of your foundation, I think, going forward. So that's good.
And don't forget Tristan Hill too.
Tristan Hill, yes,
flashes early in the season.
Yeah, definitely.
Gator role.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty strong. He was coming along, really. I would have loved to see Tristan Hill with the Canadian Bulldozer, maybe possibly another, you know, a big fat guy, and have those guys rotate. I think that we could have something special with those edge rushers if, you know, Alden Smith is able to come back. You know, Randy looks good, so I think that we could build the formula. I think we'd be all right, man. I really do. Moving forward, it's just, are we going to have the defensive coordinator here that's going to have the guys buy in? Because I think that we have some pieces. We don't have all of them, but we have some. So, Robbie, you said you had to get off, man.
I got to jump off, but I appreciate you guys, Mark, Elton, DMV. Appreciate it as always. Y'all keep the faith, man. Keep the faith. Got 3 more games. I guess it's not over, but if and when it's over with this race, there is, you know, help's going to be on the way in 2021. Some guys will be healthy, and you know, hopefully it's a better run than this year for sure.
And before you go, make sure everybody follows my man Rob Phillips, man. He's putting in that hard work at the Star and stuff, man. Great read with DallasCowboys.com. Appreciate being able to sit here and talk with you.
Yeah,
hopefully
thank you. Appreciate it
in the future with you, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
I pick your brains.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure, Mark. Take care, guys.
All right, appreciate it. You guys, Mark and Elton, you guys are going to stay on for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I want to get through a couple of questions if it's okay with you guys. Shout out to everybody. I know we didn't answer a whole lot of questions and things, but we only had so much time with Rob Phillips from DallasCowboys.com. Putting in some great work, got some great knowledge and answers and stuff from him. I was afraid that when he got off that it was Jerry Jones calling it saying, "Get your ass off of there." Damn Cowboy Joe Boo. You know, Rob, if you want to keep your job, buddy. Because it was like, ooh, it was you know that look. It's like, that's a look when your wife caught you doing something. It's like, oh. But
Cut that Wi-Fi right now.
Right. Okay. He's off air. No, but Rob had some great answers and stuff in there. I was worried, with him being that close, he's got to be careful that he holds up the brand. So he has to kind of skirt a line where he can't say too much, and so on. So it's kind of fun to try and see how close you put yourself with some of the questions and things. But I was going to ask him one other thing, and this is a crazy thing. I'm going to ask you two guys, am I crazy? Well, I am crazy. I got a voodoo doll that's up. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys and I look at this right now, let's say we finish in 4th place like we're sitting right now. We know we got a cake schedule in comparison next year. We play the NFC South, okay? New Orleans has got to blow the thing up. Drew Brees probably isn't coming back. They're $80-some million over the cap. Atlanta stinks, okay? Tampa Bay, is Tom Brady coming back, and is Tampa Bay really that great of a team? I don't think so. And you've got Carolina, okay? And then we play AFC West. The Raiders, are you really scared of the Raiders?
They're getting better. They're getting better.
But you're not looking at them saying they're a juggernaut, right? Denver, again, they need another quarterback. Surprise, surprise. San Diego, garbage. Right? Of course, Kansas.
They're getting better too.
Kansas
they're getting better too.
Okay.
Cowboys play close games every week, so you're never going to blow them out.
Right, but
they have a young quarterback that's pretty solid, and he's probably only going to get better.
So think about that schedule right now. Right now, you look at Kansas City is the cream of the crop.
Yeah, they are.
And then you're going to have 2 games that probably be the 49ers and maybe like the Lions because you're 4th place. Are you kidding me? Think about that. That's your schedule for next year.
I thought this year was a cakewalk.
Next year.
Okay, now that's not to say that some of these teams that are in the basement this year are, going to exchange and so forth. So you don't know what you don't know. But looking at it right now, you say, okay, you looked at it from when we were 4-12, and we turned around and go 13-3. We had an easier schedule. We had higher draft picks. You looked at the Eagles, 2016, they were in the basement. They go on the next year, they win the Super Bowl. You've got that advantage right now. You've got that. You've got 10 draft picks, right?
Yeah.
To me, come 2.5 weeks from now, I try and get Dak Prescott's deal done before the end of February. And I kick as much money down past 2021 as I can. Because that's when the television contract's going to be renewed. That thing's going to go through the roof. I'm telling you, you're going to have somebody who's going to want to stream, football and everything else. The Rec TV's Sunday ticket's going to be up, and I guarantee you, like YouTube or Amazon or somebody's going to pay big money to get that. AT&T's like, we're losing money on this thing. We don't want it anymore. So that's why they're getting rid of it on Direct TV. You do that. They're talking about the salary cap maybe being around 195 now. It's not going to be down to 175. You roll over the money you have right now. You get Dak done. You get his number, so it's about $20 million. You got about $35 million to work with. You go out there and you find one lights out free agent that makes
Thank you. Yes.
That makes defense better. One lights out defense. Don't bargain basement shot. Don't go.
Please don't get me fired.
The guys that are get me somebody in their prime. Pay the guy that is going to play lights out. Yeah, and then you go through this draft and you start fixing that defense.
Yeah, I'm tired of the Wendy's 4-for-4.
This is all in for next year. Am I crazy on that? If you pussyfoot around and say, well, we'll just franchise tag Dak Prescott, we'll wait and see if he's going to be okay. Well, you missed the window on free agency. Free agency starts March 15th. You've got to have Dak either signed or franchise tagged by the end of February. And you do that, you don't have a chance to get that free agent.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to mess with the tag. I know that they might feel like it's an insurance thing. Man, just sign them. If that's your quarterback, sign them. Because the tag only makes the cap more, like I say, constipated. Because you get that big value, you got
money tied up. You can't go out and spend more money above the cap because everybody's got to get below the cap by that March 15th, beginning of the league. So you get that thing done. Now, because here's the way I look at it. like I said, New Orleans is $82 million over the cap. The Eagles are $65 million over the cap. There's a bunch of teams that are going to have to cut guys just to get even before free agency, and they won't have money to spend. So you may actually look at a depressed free agent market. You may actually be able to get some of these big name free agents for less money because there's not the money to go around.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, this was Bill Belichick's thing. He told guys, man, go ahead, just sit this year out, because they got cap relief, okay, from those guys that sat out, those 9 players.
Mm-hmm.
They got higher draft picks and everything else, and now they got money to spend. They can go out. Bill Belichick's going to go out here and bargain basement shop and find the players that fit his stuff. You watch. New England will be back next year.
Yep, because here's the thing with that. Actually, 195, the will fall of rollovers, the Cowboys are $45 million under the cap. And if it hit the basement at 175, they are $28.3 million under the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't even think about, all right, we're going to come to Zeke and say, we actually need a little relief. Tyron, hey, you was getting up there. We need a little relief. Collins. So they can make more cap room, but franchising Dak is just, we are in the same position again. Why?
And you keep all that speculation, although maybe that's what they like. They like being able to
they do.
The other thing I wanted to ask Rob too was, what was the temperature of the room after the Cowboys changed that game? I mean, after that game got moved, or did I ask that?
No.
Because did that all of a sudden piss off Jerry Jones and, kind of put into motion all of these things where now we're looking at Mike Nolan, where, Mike McCarthy's telling the players that effort seems to be an issue. It seemed like all of a sudden we heard a whole lot of things after that. Jerry Jones kind of, cleaned it up. Oh, no, it's just the way it is. No, this is the first time you've lost a Sunday night game, a primetime game.
Ever.
They told you we'd rather see the Browns and the Giants than the Dallas Cowboys. And to me, that had to literally hurt it to the soul. I mean, to the soul. I mean, damn,
And you know what? Thank you, NFL. Good for you. Thank you. I really applaud you for that. Because you know what that means? Maybe we got to make some damn football decisions instead of brand decisions. Because at the end of the day, we know what it is in Dallas. Everything is thought brand first, football second. And so when you stink it up out there to the point that people don't want to watch you play,
then
you got to sit our ass down. Sit our ass down on prime time.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing is I wonder, as Jerry Jones goes through and talks about Mike McCarthy, is Dak Prescott part of that discussion? Is Dak Prescott one of those ones that's kind of putting an input about who he wants to coach him?
I'll be honest with you. I think that Dak probably looked as good as Dak has ever looked. So I don't know why he wouldn't want Mike McCarthy back. Maybe really the defense and the defense is really the issue with Dak being out. I mean, even with if we look at how the defense has played, if they had played even like they played in the Baltimore game, we win those games that Dak is playing. We played bad in the Baltimore game. We played bad in the Baltimore game.
Yeah.
But even if they play to that level, we're probably 4-1, maybe 5-0 with Dak.
Oh, we didn't play exceptional or anything on offense against Cincinnati.
We stunk. We were terrible.
Was terrible. But people
Andy
are like,
Dalton is terrible.
Andy Dalton he got it done. I was like, oh my God.
Can we talk about how bad Andy Dalton is? I'll let Elton start on that. Elton, how bad is Andy Dalton?
You remember when people were saying that Andy Dalton was going to be, that they'll get rid of Dak so that way Andy Dalton will be our starter. We can save some money. Remember that? Look, I can't even speak. No, but seriously, I actually couldn't believe it because it was a writer who used to be on the Landry Hat, And I saw one of his Facebook posts, and he was talking about, when now Dak was hurt, he's like, I don't wish him to get injured and stuff. Dak's a guy everybody likes and stuff. But, now we have a real quarterback that's going to be able to look off the safety, that's going to learn how to buy time in the pocket and will hit receivers in stride.
What is he saying now?
Yeah, I had a after a couple of those games, I went back to him and said, "You want to rethink that, or you want to delete that?" He's like, "Nah, man. The offensive line's a problem." I'm just like, "Okay, whatever."
The offensive line was a problem
with Dak on there.
Hey, Elton, I'm gonna ask you a question. Don't I call you every game when Andy Dalton is stinking it up, like right in the middle of the game?
That's every week, right?
Every week. I stopped watching the Baltimore game at one point because I was just like, I can't watch this clown no more. Like, this guy's running wide open. Like, there are people out there that believe that we don't.
Did you see that hop step he did?
Yeah, what are you doing?
And I think Gallup was wide. It was like, I'm seeing ghosts. What? It's like, dude is wide open. He's seeing ghosts.
Andy Dalton is the reason that, like, put it this way: there's a guy on this team that has really developed on this team, on this offense, that nobody even knows because Andy Dalton can't understand hot reads. He doesn't know where to go to football. Dalton Schultz is having a hell of a year at tight end. To me, he has answered everything that we need at that position. A guy that can block, a guy that can, run routes and things of that nature. To me, I think he's the best tight end that we have.
I like the last comment. Please.
Yeah, well, but that goes back to this thing of letting some of these younger guys play, because had Blake Jarwin not gotten hurt, we only looked at him and said he's a blocking tight end. That's all we got.
Well, a pass catching tight end because he couldn't block worth a damn.
Yeah.
But you're right. No, I know what you're saying. My bad. You're right.
He couldn't catch. It was, or they had the knock on him was he's basically a blocker. Dalton Schultz is our pass catching one. But you look at it now, and all of a sudden you say, hey, we got two tight ends that can both catch the football when they're both healthy next year. So you look at that and say, okay, we can end up going a 2 tight end formation where it looks like we're run heavy, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and really that's like a 4 receiver set. You get people put 8 men in the box trying to stop Zeke if Zeke is coming back, but now all of a sudden I've got Michael Gallup. And play action. I've got Michael Gallup, and I've got Amari Cooper, who I'm gonna call him the quiet assassin, because
he's killing this year with no quarterback.
Here and see his whole thing is he's so quiet. He's not out there promoting himself or anything else. Dude has done some hellacious damage in his time here in Dallas, and that knock about him disappearing on the road. He's on pace for close to 1,200 yards with garbage quarterbacks thrown it to him. How crazy is that?
Robert Anello said something on your channel. He said, put in Gilbert. Garrett Gilbert let me know that Dalton Schultz can play.
Yeah.
He let me know that when he came in. He can play. He can play. Not to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No. Man, I talk so much, you got to cut me off, man. I've got diarrhea of the mouth. And I was like, I don't want to talk too much. And, Rob's like he's going to sleep over there while I'm trying to answer a question because I'm long-winded and stuff. But, that's the thing that you look at this. And that's where I was saying, like, Terrence Steele, I'm not saying I want him to be my starter, but you can look at him and say, okay, he might be better than Cam Fleming was. Remember, we signed Cam Fleming from New England, and he had to step in a few times.
Yeah.
Or he may end up being better than that guy, and he's dirt cheap. He was an undrafted rookie free agent. So you get him, if he can be a quality backup, hey, great. You save a boatload of money right there. And you also have seen.
Well, I kind of think I think Knight is better than Steele. I think Knight is better than Steele.
Well, but both of them. But I'm saying is you're developing now a backup squad. If you've got Lyle Collins back and if he's healthy, if you've got Connor Williams is actually holding up this year after having the ACL and injured the first 2 years. You get Zach Martin back. You got Tyron Smith, right? And who am I missing? Oh, you got Tyler Badish. Okay, maybe you hold on to Joe Looney as a backup center guard. I don't know. Maybe you end up letting him go. I think he's on the last year of his deal. but you've got Connor McGovern, who's played, okay at guard at times, right? So you got him for a backup. You've got Terrence Steele. You've got Cam Irving as well for backup tackles. Your offensive line, if they're healthy right there, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, the problem is you've got 5 starters that are gone, basically, from what you started at the beginning of the year. So, and even with that starting offensive line, if you have Dak, a guy who can buy time in the pocket and things, and is a threat on the outside to run and play action, he will make that offensive line better too. In fact, I think he makes everybody better. You can look at the numbers, Zeke, since Dak's gone down, his numbers from the first half of the season, which weren't great to start with, have gone down almost half a yard per carry on average. So you know that having Dak is going to elevate everybody else on that team. They're going to look a lot better having him behind there than Andy Dalton.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's one thing that I wanted to touch on that I think that if we probably drop this game against the 49ers, I think we should go out and try and win it. I think that we should give Garrett Gilbert the rest of the games to start at quarterback, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because
Dalton, what do I don't need. I need to find who's going to be my backup.
Exactly, and at that point, if this guy can play your division games and he can go out there and play some really good football, you go ahead and lock him up to a backup deal really, really cheap right now. That way you're not going. You don't need to go ahead and get a quarterback in this draft, and also, you're not letting him get to anywhere else.
Cowboys, no. Cowboys legend. No. You missed it. No. I'm talking about the guys that are playing now. They end up being, they get a little more experience underneath them. Then you get Zach Martin, you get Tyron Smith, and I'm talking about those guys as backups. Then your offensive line is not that bad if you have those guys in their backups. Most teams don't have the luxury of having a quality starter to begin with, much less a decent backup to go behind them in most positions. I would dare say that if you ended up getting back all of our guys that we lost and they're healthy and put these guys behind it, you're actually ahead of the curve.
Well, there's a guy on my channel, Lamar, who asked this question: can we trust Tyron Smith? Now, I asked that question because you named him, and we keep naming him, but Tyron Smith at this point has become a bit of a liability. You know why he's become a liability? Because every year they come in saying we have Tyron Smith, and
they don't plan for him not being in there.
Exactly. And he misses 3 games a year, and this year it's more than 3 games, and he's under contract. So with that being said, does that stop you from drafting a tackle like Elton was talking about?
The only problem with that is you want a day one starter with that first pick. If you're picking a tackle or whoever you pick the first round, I need him to be an impact on my team today, right now, to fix this team. And if you're drafting an offensive tackle with that first pick, he's got to be a starter.
Yeah.
He's got to be a starter for me. I don't care if it's a defensive tackle. I would say, some people say draft a safety, but safeties, people don't seem to understand. There's not very many safeties that are drafted high in the first round.
No, you get them in the second. You get them in the second round.
Safeties are drafted in the first round at all. It's like second round, you can get great safety. You remember how many safeties were in there after Tristan Hill was picked? After we drafted Tristan Hill.
Everybody we wanted. Everybody we wanted was there.
We're sitting right there, late in the second round. So, I'm getting that guy in the second round. I need a guy who that first pick is going to be an impact. You're right. You have to plan for Tyron Smith. If he's there 10 games, okay, that's 10 games. I got him great. Maybe I'm resting him for playoffs or something. But I got to have that first pick be a big impact for this team. I guess got to. And if you're drafting an offensive lineman, knowing that you got Lyle Collins that's coming back and him and Zach, I'm not sure where it's going to be that he's going to be that impact. Unless you're saying, I'm going to start him on the right side. I'm going to kick, Lyle Collins down to guard.
Yep. That's
what I want to do. That's
because if you look at Lyle Collins with a hip injury, him actually moving to a guard is better than him being out at tackle.
But then that makes Connor Williams a backup.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Wouldn't that make a great backup? He would be one of the best backups in the league with a lot of starting experience.
Cowboys legend says his belief is there's too many needs on this team to sign Dak Prescott and keep a belief that we're contending them. We need a defensive lineman, we need a linebacker, and we need a cornerback. I understand where you're going with that question, but the thing is so
you would have the biggest need at quarterback. At quarterback, you would have a bigger need if he's not here. That doesn't help.
The only thing you got to do to get a quarterback, okay, you look at the Jets, you look at the Jaguars, they're hoping to get a quarterback that can play. You got one right there. All you got to do is get a contract for him. And this whole belief that, you can't sign, you know how you can play games with the cap. You can maneuver money any which way you wanted to, because back when think about Pat Mahomes and all that, Kansas City started off the offseason with $5 million under the cap in the red.
Yeah, and they still paid Mahomes.
And not only Mahomes, their tight end, they paid him too. I mean, they got everybody worked out. So don't tell me this stuff. Well, you can't sign Dak because you won't have any money. No, man, that's bullshit. Okay, it is complete bullshit. You can sign it, and the thing is, okay, so you get a defense together, and then we got Andy Dalton for a quarterback. Yeah, that's a recipe for winning football.
Yo, the Chiefs had a check that bounced, and they still signed a quarterback for $400 million.
Right. But the thing is, again,
that's the Cowboys.
Now instead of trying, let's get a first-round quarterback. Okay, then that's a position else on the team that you can't fill. That's a position on the field with an impact player, a first round. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was, what we picked, 19th?
17th.
17th last year. 17th. Okay, that guy had an impact on your team right then and there. What if you get a guy that has an impact like that on your defense? As opposed to a quarterback that you got to hope that isn't a bust.
Yeah, absolutely. And after this, guys, I have some notes. Like, I've been breaking down guys. So I'm going to actually do a preview of Surtain and Micah Parsons, guys that we might be able to get. So, you guys stay tuned for that. But, yeah, I'm with you on that. That's why I want Micah Parsons from Penn State, the linebacker, because I want a guy that's going to give that impact on the defensive side of the ball. And I think he's better than the linebackers we have right now. I really do. I think you can plug him in right now. He's better than Jalen Smith, and he's better than Leighton Vander Esch.
Man, just saying, if we got a lights out safety in a free agency, or just saying one of these, we get a lights out safety, we get another cornerback, we get another linebacker, and we get another defensive tackle. That defense, and we get a coach that
I say multiple. Give me multiple. Mark, give me multiple defensive tackles. You said we got 10 picks, right? You said we got 10, right?
Yeah.
I say get maybe two. Give me two to three defensive tackles in this draft. Mm-hmm. Like, just let's throw bodies at it. Let them compete. Win.
I'm all for that. But if
you can go Michael Parsons first round, Marvin Wilson second round, and your defense is better.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And if you got a defense that just, let's say, 8 points less a game, how many games did we lose this year that we would have won with Dak? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Is, we keep thinking that we can score 50 points every week. Oh, well, offense only scored 32 points. We suck, dudes.
It's a team game. You have to play team football. You have to play team football. It has to be like give and take, because your offense isn't going to be there every day, and they're not always going to start fast. Like, we've gotten to the point where we're dependent on the offense having to start fast because the defense can't drop their nuts early in the game and say, you know what, we're here. So,
but the Cowboys legend, you're my boy and all that. We've had our disagreements, but understand this. Okay, yeah, we were 1-4. As you said, 1-4 with Dak Prescott, but we were scoring 30-some points. Without Dak Prescott, we're averaging about half of that, around 15 points a game, and we're not winning there. The problem is the damn defense is giving up 32 points a game. How can you not see that shit? Tell me what team in the history of football is winning Super Bowls that gives up 30 points a game? When you have a team like Kansas City that only gives up like 19, Okay, there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people get this television. Oh well, the quarterback, he's Dak Prescott. That's not fucking Dak Prescott. It's the damn defense can't hold water.
You know what I got to tell Cowboys legend? You don't fix needs by getting under need. And as we say, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. Now, I know what I said earlier about Mahomes and Aaron Donald, where I still think Aaron Donald is the best player in the league. But
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes is definitely more valuable than Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? He's definitely more valuable. So
Yeah.
you don't create a bigger need. That doesn't help anything. That only makes us work. That makes us probably the Jets, honestly. That makes us the Jets.
Right. Oh, well, actually, our offense. Let's call a spade as a spade. Since Dak Prescott's gone down, our offense is similar to exactly what the Jets are. So take that right there. So if you're saying no, we just don't need Dak. You take a look with all the weapons that you have, the CeeDee Lamb, a Michael Gallup, Zeke Elliott. You literally are the Jets without Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
Let that sink in.
The only reason why the Cowboys have a high offensive rating is the 5 weeks Dak played.
Right.
They are literally held up at the number 9 offense. They haven't been a number 9 offense for a long time.
Well, let's look at this. We were the number 1 offense in the league last year. So can we count that as well with him quarterbacking? Yeah. We were the number 1 offense, and the defense was trash last year. Defense has been trash for a long time, and we just have not.
Hearing what you want to hear too, laugh out loud. Okay, again, this is a great thing about being YouTube. You can have your own opinion, your own thoughts. My thoughts are: fix the damn defense. Show me a defense that gets some damn takeaways. Okay, show me a defense that doesn't get run on for 309 yards by the Cleveland Browns or 289 by the the Baltimore Ravens. Okay.
I'll tell you what. Everybody's complaining about $40 million. Damn it, let me be the GM. I can build this team. I'll pay my quarterback $40 million, and I can build this team through the draft. I can build this team through the draft. The problem ain't the $40 million. The problem is how they set up the drafts, in my opinion. And the problem is what they value. And like we said, they have never valued safety. They have never valued defensive tackle. They value edge rushers because sacks sell jerseys, and they sell quarterback. They value offense because points sell. Sell. Yeah, they sell jerseys. They have never valued the big ugly things.
Okay, but now back to this whole thing
that we need.
Okay, let me go back to this whole thing where you can't pay a quarterback and win. Take a look at the Colts right now. The Colts are paying Phillip Rivers $25 million. You're paying Jacoby Brissett $22 million. They've got $47 million tied up right now during the pandemic at quarterback. $47 million. Where are the Colts right now versus us? Are they looking and saying that we can't field a team because we got $47 million? No, they spent their money the right way. And the key on this is, and this is where people don't seem to understand, you have to draft well and get those guys out there playing immediately. Because when you have to rely on signing big contracts for older guys, the problem with it is more times than not, it's diminishing returns. Like I said, nobody gets a gold watch in New England because they understand if I let that guy go, I get me another draft pick. Maybe it's a 4th or a 5th or maybe a 3rd. I can take a couple of these. I can move up and I can get a premier guy that will fit the system that I have. They value getting those young guys and those picks playing now because they don't cost a lot. But then they go out and they selectively pick guys that are impact player and have a role on that team to make it that much better, to kind of smooth things over. But they also understand that it can't just be, I put a boatload of money on, this guy, and then I don't have anybody behind them if they get hurt because they're going to lose players. You've got to have second string guys that are as good or close to as good as your starters. You're going to lose people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I got to answer a question right here, which I think is hilarious, by the way. So Zach Taylor says, why does the offense with Dak start out slow? Why does the offense without Dak not start at all?
Not even get out to
That's my
garage.
question. That's my question back. I mean, I'm sitting here watching the Chiefs in the Miami game that just happened, and the Chiefs were losing that game, and they started off slow, and they have the best quarterback that we've probably ever seen. It happens sometimes, and
Pat Mahomes had 3 interceptions in that game too, right?
I mean,
I do quarterback
three interceptions in that game.
I
watched about that though, do they?
I watched Russell Wilson stink it up for weeks, except for playing against the Jets. Russell Wilson has stunk it up, and he's making a lot of money, and they have a winning record. I've watched Tom Brady stink it up, and he's making some money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we got to stop just watching the Cowboys and thinking that this is just a Cowboys problem. I watch quarterbacks miss throws all the time.
Ours is Mike, and see this.
Have you watched Carson Wentz play football?
Oh,
have you watched Carson Wentz play football? Woo!
Well, I watched Hurts go out there and get a W. I watched that. Eagles fans, Eagles trolls. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, man, like we gotta stop. We gotta stop with the, why does Dak do this? Why is Dak the only one? Like, trust me, the guy right now is a top 5 quarterback. I was saying he's a top 10. He's a top 5 quarterback right now. You got to take care of him. Take care of him because you can't guarantee that Trevor Lawrence, because you think he's sexy right now, is going to be that, because there were a lot of sexy quarterbacks out there that look good, that look the part.
Marcus Russell,
Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that look the part. Yeah, it was a lot of them. I mean,
remember we want to get Paxton Lynch?
Yeah.
How about Johnny Manziel?
Oh
wow,
man!
Yeah, that's where people every year there's a Trevor Lawrence that there's always that guy that you got to get, and of course we're going through the list. Oh, Justin Fields and this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying that they won't, but how many times have you looked back and said, man, there were like 5 great quarterbacks in the draft? I don't remember that because it's never happened. Think about when Andrew Luck, because that's where they're now comparing him to Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck didn't. His injury shortened his career. He didn't win a Super Bowl.
I think the closest one.
They had his playoff record is actually not very good.
Yeah, the closest one I think is the Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
that was probably the closest one.
And how often does that happen? They thought that
it hasn't really.
I mean, you look right now at Carson Wentz, Jared Goff. Well, it's really Dak Prescott is the one that's really playing well. Jared Goff is an average quarterback.
Well, you got the Baker, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. That one right now. I mean, those guys. I mean, Baker, Josh Allen, and Lamar are winning games, though. You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen looks pretty good. I didn't think he was going to look that good.
I don't know that Lamar is going to be sustainable.
Me?
Are you looking at saying 4 years from now that Lamar Jackson is going to be? He's going to have to be better at his passer. His legs are only going to carry him so far.
Yeah, but Dak was kind of inconsistent a little bit with his throwing too, and it really just depends on how much work he puts at it. It really just depends on that. Could he get there? Yeah, but we've also seen this story before where you can end up RG3. So I see both sides to that. The only thing that I will say about this, Mark and Elton, is that where is he? He's in Baltimore, where they make football decisions and everything is football. So even if he doesn't get to that, you best believe Baltimore is going to be in a position where they're winning games. Still.
Well, I'm going to have to wrap this on up, my
man.
We've been here for almost.
We've been at it for a while, man. We weren't supposed to go this long, but the fans kept us going. So yeah, man. Got my man Mark Holmes.
Hold on. See, there's the Cowboys legend. I don't want to argue with you and all that, but you say we need major help in the trenches. I agree with that. I agree 100%. So how is it moving on from Dak Prescott helps that situation?
It doesn't. Look.
Listen. If you're in a position, if we're a top 5 pick, and somebody says we want to go with one of these quarterbacks, I'm moving back and I'm taking care of my holes on my in the trenches.
Yeah. So
Otherwise, if you're saying let Dak go, I got to find some way to get a quarterback out there that's capable. Unless you're believing that Andy Dalton is going to, turn back the hands of time and be, competent, or that Double G is going to be your quarterback. I mean, come on.
And I actually want to see. That's just false. So Will McClay didn't find Dak.
nah, they got lucky as hell because they wanted some bum ass quarterbacks before him. They got
There
lucky.
is only one person in that war room that actually liked Dak, and he's the OC of the Giants. Let's just tell the truth.
Yeah.
I wanted him.
Yeah.
I was there at the draft in Chicago. Draft Dak, please.
Yeah.
Now, actually, should Dak want out? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dak. Yes. Dak should want out of here.
Yeah.
I would.
Like, I'll be honest, man. Yeah. Sometimes, like, I feel cursed as a fan. So, like, I would be honest with y'all. And look, I can be honest with y'all, Cowboy faithful. If my son was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys and he gets treated the way he does by you guys and by the organization, I'm going to tell his ass to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Any day of the week.
There you go.
But
all right. So let me go ahead and end on everybody. I appreciate everybody who's come in on my channel here. Make sure you check out my man DMV, because DMV was introduced to me about 4 years or stuff ago, because they said my man knows more about breaking down the draft and everything else. See, I'm not one of those draftologists. I'll put it point blank. I'm that guy that will talk to. I come up with theories and things and plays where the Cowboys should go. My man DMV is like he makes the sausage. Okay, I don't care how the sausage is made. I just know I want some spicy sausage, and I get DMV to make the sausage and deliver it to you guys. So that's where we all work together and stuff. So definitely check out my man DMV Fanatic and his man Elton Colton, because man, they do great work and stuff. What night is it?
We normally do it. We normally do this on Wednesday night. So yeah, 8:30 tonight. Just so happened to be a real special night. But let me ask you a question. Do you want to keep this roll call game thing going, man? Because I really, really enjoyed it a lot, and I had a blast.
Let's see. I do have a wife.
Oh yeah,
she's kind of like, you got Sundays all day, and now you're like live streaming 2 games. You got Friday night and Monday night. It's like, you might have a few more nights available if you keep this up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely, we'll probably at least do a chime in or something like that. It was definitely fun to get in with you guys, to go ahead and pick Rob's brain and kind of put him on the hot seat a little bit there.
Okay. Well, yeah, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like you said, this is my channel, DMV Fanatic, Elton Colston. Go check him out. He just hit 1,000 subs. My man covers Cowboys and boxing. So if you guys love boxing, go check him out. And my man, the Godfather, Mark Holmes. Thank you for coming in and making this a super show, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. And we out, everybody.
All right. Peace out, man. Man, that was fun. I appreciate everybody coming on through here. And